Hello photo buzzers, Andrew James here with a very quick and hopefully quite simple Lightroom processing on a black and white image for a little challenge I've set out there, which is to photograph something from your lockdown world in black and white, everyday object, everyday scene that works really nicely in black and white. You should have read the article first. Please do that before you watch this video. So if you haven't done that yet, then stop watching this and go back and read the words and have a look at those pictures. That would be great. So I didn't show all of these pictures on the article. I'm just going to quickly show you some of the ones that I shot all within this sort of 10-12 minute period with a couple of different lenses, and then we can see why I've picked the one I'm going to pick to process. So here we have this one. Let's just go up a little bit size. Legendary fat cat in my house, zigzag. Clearly an obvious black and white subject, and if I hit V, let's look at her in black and white, and I'm not sure, although there's not really a lot to do here. I'm a little bit worried about the tonal difference between her white fur and then that lighter background, so I've sort of rejected that one on for this reason. This was a long lens shot. I was in the back garden, looked up, and there was this blackbird kind of, I don't know, almost grandstanding on the roof, and I like the patterns. There's a bit of light coming through at that point, so that was great. So if we hit V on that one, again, not a massive amount of work to do. Sometimes you find that, as I say in the article, sometimes some black and white subjects don't need a huge amount to do, and there's already some nice contrast there. So I quite like that little scene. And then there was this one, which was on a macro lens, which I quite like. Let's hit V for this. Oops, sorry, it was just being a bit slow for some reason then. There we go. I quite like this. I think I prefer the colour version though. I think it pops a little bit more. I would need to work a bit on that right hand side, dampen down some of those highlights and bring out that contrast. So I think it would work as a black and white, but we're not going to do it. What's the next one? Okay, so I've been cleaning my car and we've got some droplets after rain, and on a 50mm, and I quite like this. So again, it's almost already black and white. If I hit V, you won't see a lot of difference with this one. There it goes. It's just a little bit of warmth dropping out of the bigger droplets. I really like that, but again, if I was going to sort of develop it, a little bit more contrast, play around with the tonal range a fraction, but not a huge amount to do. Same with this one. I mean, it's practically black and white anyway, so I'm not even going to bother with V. So we're not going to do anything with that one. However, the one we're going to work with is this, the one you saw on the article, because there's a lot more colour going on here, but I still think it's got really good potential. So let's take this image into Lightroom's develop module and open our panel on the right hand side, and as you can see, nothing has been done to this yet. So let's just have a look at the histogram up here. ISO 100, 50mm lens, f2.8. That was a creative decision. I wanted to concentrate on the two most interesting parts of the scene, which I thought were the twine and then the watering can rose, and throw everything else slightly out of focus, or dropping more and more out of focus in the background, because some of it's a bit of clutter, isn't it? So I just want to render that to sort of diffuse shapes. And we've got a 40th of a second. Could have handheld that. Actually, I didn't. I put it on a tripod just to be absolutely certain that everything was going to be sharp. And my focal point, or my focus point, was here, just about here on this rose, just on the left of it. So everything along here, the twine and some of the rose, is going to be nice and sharp. That important area, and everything else dropping out of focus behind it. So that's my starting point. Now we could look, because the first thing we obviously need to do, because we're going to go black and white, we want to hit V on the keyboard, and we're going to get it in black and white, and that's actually okay. That's not a bad start, is it? So that the way that light was working, was a real natural black and white. But I want to punch it up. I want to create a little bit more variation of the tones within the scene, and there are various ways I could do this. So we could go down to the black and white mix of channels here, and we could play around with the tones by directly targeting the specific colors. Now that's a really good way of doing it. That's something I recommend on the Black and White Workshop for a lot of the stuff that we do, and also I think I have touched on that in previous videos. But actually today I think this is a lot simpler, so we're not going to worry about that. We're going to do pretty much most of our stuff here within the basics panel here, and we are going to do some dodging and burning using brushes. Simple as that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I just think I'm just going to push the contrast up a little bit. I want this to, I always like my black and white to be nice and contrasty, so let's knock that up, I don't know, 26, something like that. That would do it instantly. I like that more. It doesn't take a lot. I'm not going to do anything with the highlights, with the shadows. I don't want to lift them or darken them at this point. There's no point doing anything with whites and blacks because I'm spot on, aren't I? If we look, remember, spot on with the histogram. So no point with that at all. But I am going to just use the presence area to do something with texture, clarity and dehaze. I'm just going to ramp them up. That's what I'm going to do. So let's go for, say, 20, 21 on the texture, something similar, maybe about 15, 16 on clarity, and then dehaze something like 10 to 15 on there, or 14 will do. And that's giving it a much kind of earthier, much more kind of crisper. We're losing a little bit of detail here and there, but I don't mind that because that's really helping us with these shapes. So I'm really happy with that. So what else do we want to do? Well, what I want to do now is do some selective changes to the tonal range within the scene. I'm not going to do a huge amount, I'm just going to do a bit to just change the atmosphere and feel of the image. So the first one I want to do, if I select an adjustment brush, I'm just going to use this top left hand corner. I mean, I like this white area here, that's where our light's coming from, it's important in the scene. I'm just going to brush over. You see I've got the mask selected. If you don't have that selected, you can hit the letter O on the keyboard, and I'm going to basically brighten that area, but I don't want to select everything within that particular area in terms of the tonal range. So let's switch off the mask. It's mainly highlights, but you can see there's some midtones in there as well. I don't really want to mess around too much with the midtones. I just want to brighten the highlights a fraction. So I'm just going to switch the mask back on again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. You see I have this range mask here. It says off at the moment. I'm going to click on the little drop down menu and I'm going to select luminance. Now luminance is just a posh word for brightness, and as you see here we have a range and a smoothness slider. I have done this in a video, so you can check back and find that if you want some more detail on this. I'm going to take the range at the moment is open across the whole range, so it's going to select all the tones it finds in there, and I'm just going to take the ones from the left, so that's our shadows, our darkest tones. I'm going to move across beyond midtone to about 70, something like that. So if I now go back to the highlights here and I turn the highlights up, you will see just about, I'm going to turn them up quite a way, that it is lightening behind the actual mask. You see the mask lightening, and if I get rid of the mask, you can see that that whole area has lightened a little bit. Without kind of being horribly burnt out, it's just lightening up, and I like that diffused effect that it's giving. It's just again a creative choice to do that, so I'm happy with that. So next, so let's just do a couple very quickly. So I'm going to select a new brush, and I think this top right hand corner here, I actually want to darken that down. So whereas before we were dodging, lightning, we're going to burn this time. I'm not going to bother with the range mask on this one because all I want to do is just darken the shadows down a little bit in that area, only a fraction, and the highlights, dull those highlights down a bit. That's it. That's all we're going to do. Next, right, okay, so we need a new brush because we've got to work on a separate brush each time, remember, because obviously each area needs a different tonal adjustment. The bit that I'm not so sure about or don't like too much is just the way these two pots, clay pots, merge, and I just want to lighten up the pot behind. So I'm just going to run the brush down there. There's a little bit of light coming between them there, something like that. So again, letter O can show you what I've selected. Fairly rough, nice and soft, nicely feathered, 100 feather actually. And this time I'm just going to lighten the shadows shadows, and I'm going to take the shadows to about 60 and maybe just a touch of exposure. Again, not selected the range mask, so it's selecting all the tones there, so it's lightening all the tones that are in there, and that's just made that separation a lot better, I think. Okay, so let's just do one more. So one more new brush, and what I want to do is just down this bottom left hand corner. I don't like there's too much detail down here. I want it to be darker like the bottom right hand corner is, so that it sort of helps to frame the image. So again, a nice big brush, and I'm just going to brush in this corner. Oh, you can see where I brushed, and now I'm just going to take the shadows down a bit. Actually, no, let's not do shadows. Let's just go straight for blacks, because that's what we want. Take the blacks back. Yes, it's going to lose a little bit of the twine as it's dropping down to the left hand side where it falls out of the light, but you know what, I'll take that. And that, guys, is all that I'm going to do to this image. So I haven't done very much at all. I've just done a few things in the basics tab and a tiny little bit of dodge and burning just using the brush tool. That's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Get out there, find yourself a little black and white scene you think works from everyday objects, take a picture, have a play around, put it on your gallery, and then put it onto the critique gallery so other people can see and make comments and give you some great feedback, hopefully. I look forward to seeing them. Bye.